Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Now, in my last video I briefly talked about creepypastas and how they were the scariest thing I've experienced in my childhood growing up. And now in today's video I want to take a deeper dive into creepypastas, and not only that but go into other stories from Reddit and all over the internet. So in this video we'll be ranking what I think are the best ones I've heard, and going from to, whoa, this one's pretty good, to, oh god damn, this one was fucking terrifying. So join me as we discuss my personal picks for top 10 creepypastas slash internet horror stories. Alright, let's go on to number, what? I'm not doing number, what am I saying? Anyway, on to the first one. I dared my best friend to ruin my life. As the story says itself, boredom is a very dangerous thing. It leads to terrible decisions. That is more than the case with this first entry, as two best friends start a bet to basically see if the other can ruin their life. It starts off with just one of them, but then it involves both of them. Yeah, this story is batshit insane. It goes from 0 to 100 pretty fucking quickly. I've always really liked this story despite of how long it is, but honestly, it does not feel that long, especially with how hooked this story gets you. Honestly, it's been one of my favorites ever since it came out almost goddamn half a decade ago. I'm pretty sure the story is older, but I'm talking about the narration primarily. That's how it'll go with most of the stories I bring up on this list, that it's mainly the narrations that make the stories 10 times scarier. But yeah, that's basically it. Without going into spoilers, this story is pretty fucking crazy. It goes into depth with a lot of technology and cybersecurity too, which I found really interesting and very unique for a creepypasta or internet horror story to take. I think this one is on Reddit, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, no, any originality is super warranted, especially in creepypastas, like how I've said in my last video that some of them kind of fell off. This one definitely didn't, and it shows in the writing. So give it a chance if you want to listen to this one. I'll leave all links to the stories I bring up in the description as well, also. So yeah, on to the next one. Rap Rat. I keep mentioning my past video a lot, and this part is no exception. I did say this in my last video. Rap Rat, that story fucking scared me. And for good reason too, because yeah, this story is pretty fucking creepy. I mean, as a creepypasta you would expect it to. I mean, I couldn't have walked into that one. But yeah, again, I'm not going to go into spoilers of most of these stories. I want you guys to experience them if you're into, scary stories and stuff on the internet. But what really drew me to this story was its different uses of media, and it goes into, voodoo as well, which I did not expect going into this. I thought it'd just be, another, there's one about an apple and shit. Happy, I think. I thought it was going to be another one of those stories, but no, it took me by surprise how creepy this story can get at certain parts, especially when I was 14. Oh god. I was all shaking at the computer and shit at school. But no, this story is a very good one if you're into more Lost Episode-esque creepypastas with a little bit of voodoo in it. Is that a genre? I don't know, but I just made it up, so there we go. Anyway, on to the next one. I saw something strange on the evening news. Just a quick heads up, I'm suffering from a cold right now, so if I sound a little different in this next half of the video, that's why. This creepypasta is kind of unique in the way it's formatted, because it's literally just about a guy in a bar and stuff he's seeing on the TV, but like I said, I'm not going to go too crazy with spoilers with all the entries. Let's just say he sees something involving his house that any normal person would freak out like he did. And the way he describes it and the way it's portrayed, it leaves off a very eerie vibe throughout the whole thing. I thought it was a really good horror story. I don't know if it's a creepypasta, but either or, it was really well made. It left me pretty fucking shaken after I heard it. So yeah, that's why this one's here. On to the next one. The Disappearance of Ashley, Kansas. This story takes place around, I would say, 1950, when a small town is... fuck, it's hard to talk about these stories without spoiling major plot points, but it starts off normal with a very cloudy atmosphere but the town slowly gets worse and worse throughout the story. You hear it from the perspective of a news reporter telling it, and you get transcripts of 911 calls, and the last one especially is super fucking like creepy. Yeah, I was very thrown off when I first heard it, let's just say that. It's the last transcript 911 call that it plays that's very fucking like goddamn. But overall, this is a really well put together story. It's, yeah, there's not much more to say about it. It's just really, it accomplished its job with the way it talks about the town, talks about what's happening. It's overall, it's a really good one. I heard a while ago, but yeah, it deserves to be on here. The Swing. This one centers around a new move-in who moves into a new neighborhood, and then he notices a boy on a swing set that lives maybe, I forgot exactly, it's in his backyard porch, in the backyard of his neighbor. But this boy isn't just a normal boy, though, I'll just say that without going into more detail. But yeah, this one was pretty fucking insane the way it like transpires, but overall it's well written. The characters in it, there's maybe like 3 or 4 in there that really have character to them, but overall it's a really good one. It's kind of long, maybe like 26 minutes I think, but you really don't notice when you're hearing it, honestly, because you're like on the edge of your seat hearing the whole thing. So yeah, on to the next one. Mr. Sweetly. We've all heard the famous Bloody Mary ritual with the mirror, but this one is sort of in the same manner of childhood urban legends, going on to something more. This one is about a guy he went to high school with, and then there was this man that nobody ever talked about, or that they try to avoid talking about, involving a bathroom. Again, I'm not gonna go super crazy in depth with the summaries, just give you like the first beginning parts. But this one was a pretty recent one I heard, actually. Maybe last year, I would say. Well, by the time this video comes out, it was last year. But the way it's put together, yeah, this one is pretty fucking creepy, honestly. You learn about the backstory of him, just like brief things about him. But it's very much in line with urban legend type stories, and that's why I really like it, because you really don't see those nowadays. This one is really worth the listen if you have the time for it. Again, this one's a pretty long one as well, but again, like the other ones I've mentioned before, you really don't, I guess, tell that it's been that long because you're so invested with the story. But yeah, that's all I'll say for this one. On to the next one. The Harbinger Experiment. Now, I know I said in my previous ones that most of them are pretty long. This one, I think by far on the list, is the longest, at ranking at 42 minutes in total. Past me, just here to say that the Harbinger Experiment isn't the most longest story. It's actually the first story I mentioned, clocking in at over 8 hours, so yeah, my mistake. But honestly, all that time is warranted when you hear the story, because I think on this list, this is probably the most well-written one, and it keeps you in the loop the whole time, like you're just interested about the experiment that's ran in Alaska, I believe. And then even the ending is like it's probably the scariest ending on this list, I would say. So maybe the first two probably have the scarier one, but this one has one of the scariest ones I've ever heard. And there's a song that's mentioned on this creepypasta specifically, and then after you hear this story, that song you'll associate with this creepypasta. Yeah, it's fucking crazy, honestly. So I would highly recommend this one to anybody who's into experiments and hidden government stuff, because yeah, this is what it mainly delves into. Anyway, on to the next one. The Gristers. Moving on to the next one, this is a creepypasta that's based off internet horror stories and how they affect your psyche, and more than just affecting your psyche, it could bring otherworldly stuff to you. This one by far is one of the scariest ones I think I've ever heard, and that's why it's ranked so high, because even hearing it now, it does still give me the chills, honestly. And yeah, it's just a really well-written story. Honestly, when it comes to creepypastas, I feel like the ones that involve the reader are honestly the most scariest ones. It dates back to chain letters back in like 2007 that you would get. It's around that type of fear, and that's why I think it works so well in this creepypasta. But again, I don't really want to talk too much about it because these ones are best experienced by you hearing them yourself. But this one is definitely worth it. It's still pretty scary to this day, I would say so. Overall, that's pretty much what I had to say about this entry. On to the final one of this list. I'm a 911 operator who just had the most terrifying call. This one, without a shadow of a doubt, is by far the most scariest one on this list. Like, it like shuts everything down. It's simple. It's not really over the top. It doesn't really explain itself. It's just so fucking creepy. Like, even hearing it now, that shit still scares me. It's about a regular old 911 call that goes from a regular minor inconvenience to something way more terrifying. And by far, yeah, I'm not even gonna say anything about this one. So I genuinely want you to hear this one because if you haven't heard it, it'll fuck you up for sure. And it delivers that without being over the top, without being too crazy. It's just a normal everyday thing, but yeah, it's there's not more I could say about it without giving any spoilers. This one you just have to hear for yourself. So yeah, that was my list of my personal top. I don't know how many I count, probably like 10. I would say about, is it 10? I don't know, I had to look at the list again, but anyways, yeah, that was my best creepypasta / internet horror stories I've heard out of the, I would say, almost 10, goddamn, it's almost been 10 years since I've delved into this type of media, but yeah, I highly suggest checking out all of these ones because it'll be worth it for sure. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hopefully I don't sound like shit in my next one. Hopefully I'm fully recovered because yeah, it's flu season anyway, so I'm not surprised. I probably got a cold or something, but yeah, like I said in my last video, I hope you enjoy, and I'll probably only do monthly videos to be honest. Maybe, we'll see. But yeah, hope you enjoyed and stay safe and have a happy new year.